man.
Yeah.
I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
Yeah, I think it's connecting in.
I got you. Loud and clear.
Okay, good.
Yep. I'm on deck.
Good. We got the guys logging in now, so we're going to wait until about 12:35 or so to get started.
Okay. I'm in. I'm on deck.
Right.
In the meantime, I'm going to mute my phone, my mic here, and I'm going to talk to my folks on Facebook, all right? But I got you. Loud and clear.
All right.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Okay. What's up, family?
Show your camera, man.
Huh?
How you doing?
What's up, family? It's your boy, Mike thePilot. Hey, listen. I'm glad you can join me. Timothy Gray, I see you. My man, King William. I see you. King William, I like that. Hey, listen, I hope you guys can hang with me for a little while. I'm doing a live Facebook, not live Facebook, but I'm doing my live Facebook presentation. At the same time, I'm doing a Zoom workshop for a good friend of mine, Gerard Truesdale, him and his folks over at the Crossroads, Pathways to Success. I'm going to turn their audio down just so, let's see what we got here.
How you been, man?
Let me turn their audio down, okay? So I got their audio down, my mic is muted, but I'm on deck ready to go with them. So in the meantime, we're gonna go about another 10 minutes, but in the meantime, I'm gonna talk to you guys. First of all, I appreciate you guys. Alfred, I see you, man. I always appreciate your support, showing up on my videos, hanging out with me. Just, man, I really love you, brother. I love you and Martha, and just appreciate you guys. I love the whole family, man. You know, Melanie, her and Amber, just like sisters. And so, I mean, I just really appreciate you guys and having met you all through our daughters. Appreciate you showing up and supporting me. Timothy Greer, I see you, man. I always see you show up on the video sometimes. Most of the time I see you show up. I appreciate you showing up to show your support. But I'm going to be talking about aviation today. I'm going to be talking about my passion in life. One of my passions in life. And, you know, Gerard just asked me if I would do a workshop for them. I see you, Tara. Do a workshop for them. This is their first virtual workshop. Normally they have speakers come in and talk to the kids. I say kids, but they're young men. And he works with a group of about, I think he's probably got about, I don't know, 15 or 20 young men he worked with. And this brother's doing some powerful stuff in the community, y'all. When I say, he's working with these young men and he's teaching them all kind of life skills. I be checking them out. Some of the life skills, I'd be like, man, I need to come to that workshop. One workshop was like a dining etiquette. You know, when he took the guys to like a fancy restaurant, showed them how to handle themselves in the fancy restaurant, fancy environment, so they don't feel out of place, okay? And he just brings all different kind of speakers in. So I feel tremendously honored for him to have asked me to be the first person to do a virtual workshop. And this is the first time he's doing it, so there may be a few glitches here and there, but y'all bear with us. I wanted to bring my family with me, my Facebook family with me online, and have you guys be with me while I'm doing the Zoom. So once I start the Zoom, I won't be able to really interact with you guys, but you'll be able to see me live talking to this group, okay? And I hope you guys like it. Hope you get something out of it. Share this video so that maybe some young men that you might know may be interested in aviation, or maybe don't know what they're interested in and they're looking for something to find an interest in. You know, aviation might be their thing. You never know. You know, you never really know until you expose them to it. So that's the whole idea. It's just to expose them to it. So I'm gonna it's 12:25. These guys are still getting set up. I see them working their things out, getting set up. And I'm gonna switch over here in a minute, bring their audio back up just in case they're trying to talk to me. My microphone is muted and my audio is down, so they're still getting their stuff together as far as bringing their group in. And I just want to just give myself a few minutes before I go in. Appreciate you guys, whoever's with me today, going in with this Zoom presentation, Zoom workshop. Again, it is a virtual workshop for the nonprofit organization called Crossroads, Pathways to Success. Headed up by Gerard Truesdale and Arturo McKee. Now, I don't know Arturo, but I do know Gerard. But those two brothers have put together this program, and they've been running strong for like 11 years. And they're doing some very, very positive stuff in the community. Just stuff you're not going to see on the 6 o'clock news. But these are your real heroes. These guys right here are your real heroes out here every day working with, youth groups, being a positive inspiration in their lives, being a positive role model to these guys, exposing them to other things, other positive role models. So this is good work right here. So you all check them out on Facebook as well. Crossroads, Pathways to Success. Gerard Truesdale, he's one of my friends on Facebook. Y'all friend request him, follow his work. He's done some very, very positive stuff out here. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring their audio back up and make sure that they're not trying to communicate with me. So I'm gonna turn my audio down here. So again, I thank everybody that's joining me on Facebook Live. Appreciate you guys rolling with me, being with me, supporting me. And I got my mic unmuted on Zoom so these guys can hear me as well. I got my audio up so I can hear them if they want to correspond with me. We're going to give it a few more minutes. I'm going to let Gerard open it up, and then I'm going to go in. I'm going to go hard, y'all. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go hard. So if you know anybody that want to participate, they can come on this live Facebook broadcast. I'll post a link later on where maybe they can go back and watch it on Zoom. But I'm going to go hard. I'm telling you. This is what I love to do. I love to do stuff like this. So I'm going to turn my music down and let Gerard take over.
Yeah, Mike, we're just going to give it about 5 more minutes.
Okay.
And, let a few more guys log in.
Okay. All right. I'm cool. I got all day, brother.
Mike, that's Arturo. That's
okay.
Mike.
What's up, Arturo? I was just telling my family, man, I didn't know you yet, but now I know you, brother.
Right. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well, man. Nice to meet you as well, man. No problem, man. Listen, like I was telling my family on Facebook, I was saying, man, these brothers are doing some powerful work out here in the community, man. I said, these are the real heroes. These are your real heroes out here in the community because these guys are working with young kids, young men, exposing them to different things, being positive role models for them. I said, these are your real heroes. You're not going to see these guys on the 6 o'clock news, but they're out here every day doing this stuff. I know you guys are plugging away. So from me to you, brother, I appreciate what you do, okay? You and Gerard, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate it. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, KJ, how you doing, man? Okay. Thanks for joining, bro. Appreciate it. You're welcome.
Tom, I see you, brother. I got my mic muted over here. I see you, bro.
Type your address in the chat.
If you can hang out with me, Tom.
Send you a pizza. Man,
I'm doing this live workshop, man, on Zoom for these kids, man, and I'm talking about aviation. So, if I don't have to have no script, okay? No script. I got a few notes I'm going to start off with just as memory joggers. But, when I start talking about airplanes, Tom, you're going to love this, man, when I start talking about the F4. Yes, the Phantom. Yeah, that's what I cut my teeth on. Yeah, you're going to love that, brother. All right, so hang with me, Tom, if you can. And for my Facebook family, they're all set up. They got everything running. They got a few of their participants checking in.
Yeah.
And what they're sort of waiting for is more people to join the Zoom before they get started. Now, once they get started, I won't really interact with you guys. I'll be talking mostly to them. But if you guys have any questions, just type them in the comments, okay? But for the most part, I just wanted to bring you guys along, just to be here with me and watch this live Zoom presentation workshop for Crossroads, Pathways to Success.
Right, but then imagine like when school's over. That's when a lot of people, can't adjust well. When you think, what if this was it? When it's back to school again, you have to just learn stuff on your own. That's how it is in the real world. After you get out of school, there's nobody to sit you down and teach you stuff.
So they just thought of still, welcoming the guys in.
This is a good little taste for you guys. This is what college is like.
But in a few minutes, I'm going to go ahead and unmute my microphone. And then, Bumblebee.
It's reviews, so it's easy.
I'm not sure what that means, Tom. BBL. I think you might be referring to the Phantom. But don't talk too bad about my Phantom, Tom. That's what I cut my teeth on, brother. BMFA Trip Tray down in Beaufort, South Carolina. Trip Tray all day. BMFA 333, Trip Tray, Fighting Shamrocks. What's a Fighting Shamrock, by the way? So I'm going to go ahead and start talking to these guys. You guys on Facebook, just hang tight with me. We're going to get started here in just a second.
Mike, you can go ahead and get started. We want to start with an intro.
Okay.
Let me introduce you.
Okay.
Everybody on the call right now, this is Mike Kearney. He's taking the time to be our first online virtual speaker. We thank you for taking the time to speak with us, Mike. Usually we meet somewhere and we would have you come in and talk to the guys in person, but considering the circumstances, this is what we're going to be doing right now. Just to tell you about Mike, he's a pilot. He's also first and foremost, he's a U.S. veteran. He served in the Marine Corps. He's a pilot. He also has a nonprofit called Broken Wings, an aviation mentoring group. And he's currently also working to become an ordained minister as well. And he's here to talk to you guys today about his career as a pilot and information about flight school and life skills as well. Anything you want to add to that, Charles?
No. Just, give them your attention, please, fellas. Pay attention to the message that's going to be delivered to you today.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Okay. Thank you.
For joining throughout the convo.
Okay. Thank you, Gerard. Thank you, Arturo. Hey, listen, guys. First of all, I want to give honor to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for the opportunity to be before you today, for waking me up this morning, just to give me the privilege to be able to talk to you guys. I want to thank Gerard and Arturo just for the work you all have been doing, for the past 11, 12 years, however long you've been out there working and pushing it and making your thing happen. Again, just, mad shout out and props to you guys for the work that you're doing. Again, I just feel really honored to be here today, to be your first virtual host and speaker. With this coronavirus thing, going on, I mean, we're really changing our whole lifestyles up, the way we worship, the way we communicate, the way we socialize with folks, and even what you guys are doing. And it's good that you guys are able to have adjusted and overcome this obstacle called coronavirus. Not sure how many students we may have on right now, but I'm going to go ahead and address the students real quick. as far as the students and the participants in your program, one thing I would admonish you to do is every chance you get, you should thank Mr. Gerard and Mr. Arturo for the work that they're doing and how they are pouring into your life, because this is some stuff that you guys will, excuse me, I'm sure by now you realize that some of the training and some of the exposure you're receiving through Arturo and Gerard, this is stuff that will follow you the rest of your life. And when I say that you will look back on these days and you will say, you know, had not been for those two guys, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today. You will look back on these days and you will think about all the exposure they gave you guys and all of the different workshops they held and all of the different training they put you guys through. This is not for them. This is for you. Okay, this is to help advance your life, that you can do what? That you can one day pass it on. So that's the whole idea, is every chance you get, thank Mr. Gerard and Mr. Truesdale for being who they are. And just for the work that they're doing and the work that and how they are pouring into your life. Believe me when I say there are some people that don't care. They don't care. They could care less. But you can see these guys, they're doing what they call selfless work. This is called what you call selfless work. Selfless service to mankind. So again, just thank you guys for bringing me in.
Yes, sir.
Whenever you want me, I can talk, man. I can talk as long as you want. I don't know if you want to ask me questions or... You know,
yeah, go for it,
okay, so here's how I'm going to start it out. One of the things, I'm going to just act as if I'm standing in front of the crowd, standing in front of the guys, okay? So even though we're doing this virtual, I'm just act as if we're in a room together, okay? So one of the things I want to get across right up front is for the participants in the program, the Crossroads Pathways to Success, okay? Just look at the title of the program you're involved in. So one of the things I want to clearly communicate and get across to you is you have certain objectives you should consider yourself having in life, okay? One of those objectives should be discovering what I call and what a lot of us out here call your unique ability in life, okay? Your unique ability. In other words, why did God create you? Why did God create you? Why did God put you on this planet? And trust me when I say that question is going to cross your mind for the rest of your life. You're always going to be asking yourself, okay, what is my purpose? Why am I here? And that's an objective that even as young as you may be, okay, you're still never too young to start finding out and starting to seek the answers to that question. So here's what I'm going to suggest to you. Try to understand and find out what your unique purpose in life is, okay? And in order to do that, I'm going to give you 3 questions to ask yourself, okay? I'm going to give you 3 questions to ask yourself. Now, before I go on, I'm going to ask, if you can, that everybody mute their microphones, just so we don't get any unwanted background noise. Because I'm going to give y'all some good stuff here, and I don't want anybody to get distracted, okay? Okay, so here we go. There's 3 questions that I want you to ask yourself, and I need you to write these down. If you don't have a pen and paper, run and grab one real quick, because I promise you when I say you're going to want to go back and read these things. Number 1, you're going to ask...
Cameras on if you can, fellas, so we can collaborate and see you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, leave your cameras on. Okay, so here we go. 3 questions I want you to ask yourself. I want you to ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? Then I want you to ask yourself this question. Why do I exist? Why do I exist? And then I want you to ask this final question. And you don't have to worry about trying to answer them right away. Don't worry about that. Just ask the questions. That's all you're going to do right now. You're just going to ask the questions. Don't worry about trying to answer them as you write them down. But ask yourself, who am I? Why do I exist? And am I being all that I am capable of being in this life? Now, these are 3 critical questions that you will ask yourself. But I promise you, you will spend the rest of your life trying to answer them. Okay? But you must find the answers to these questions. This is what we call your unique purpose in life. The reason why you're here. So many times people start searching for the reason why they're here, and they don't know. And there's an old saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Okay? So this is why it's so important to know who you are why you're put here on this earth, and are you being everything that you can be in this life? Now, once you discover that, once you discover what that answer is, then what happens next? What must happen next is this, and I need you to listen up to me real careful right here. Once you ask yourself these 3 questions, and the answers will start coming to you, and as the answers start coming to you, write them down. This is so important, guys. I know Mr. Truesdale and Mr. Arturo has told these things to you. Write things down. It's so important. The reason why is because there's so many thoughts that come in and out of your mind every day. 80 to 85% of them are the same thoughts you had yesterday. There's only a very small percentage of new ideas you get every day. Okay? So it's so important for you to write things down, because as these answers start coming to you, then what you want to do is write them down. Who am I? Well, I'm this person. I'm somebody. I'm this person's son. I'm this person's brother. Write down who you are. My friends are this. I'm involved in this program. Why am I here? That's going to take you a while to answer that one, by the way. The why am I here? Your purpose in life. And then the third one, once you find out what your purpose is, the third one will sort of come easy, because you'll be able to answer, am I really being all that I can be? Okay? Now, once you find out what those answers are, then the next objective you have in life is to relentlessly pursue that with everything that you have within you. Every single day. Every single day. Every single day of your life, you want to relentlessly pursue that passion or your purpose in life as if your very life depended on it. Okay? Now, you might say, well, Mr. Kearney, do I have to do that every day? Every day. But guess what? Every day is not going to be a go hard day. You know, you're going to have some days where you're going to be down. You're going to be, you have some ups and downs. Life is cyclic. Okay? It's up and down. Okay? You're going to have some days where you're not going to want to go hard. You're not going to want to pursue your passion with everything you have in you. But if you can try as best you can to pursue your passion, your goal in life, as much as you can, then you'll be some of the best. You'll be some of the best at what you do. I made it a point. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself so you can get an idea of who I am and where I'm coming from. But I made it a purpose. I made it a point in my life to try to be the absolute best at what I did. No matter what I'm doing, I'm going to try to be the best at it. And this is what, by the way, they call, I'm sure a lot of you, if not all of you, are familiar with Kobe Bryant. And you're familiar with his term, how he termed it, what? The Mamba mentality. That's all Mamba mentality is. Kobe didn't invent that. Kobe just taglined it, the Mamba mentality. But this is stuff that's been around for years, okay? And Kobe was exposed to it. And he called it his Mamba mentality. Going hard, being the best that he can be. And what he did was, he did what? He studied. He studied other players. And he studied his game. He honed his craft. And he practiced, and he did everything he could to be the best at what he could be. Because he would always say, I want to be the best. I want to be better than MJ. Even though he studied MJ, okay, I'll say this, write this one down. This is a good quote for you to remember. It's okay to be a copycat as long as you copy the right cat, okay? But even with that, don't try to be that person. Study how they did it, and then say, okay, I'll see how they did it. I like that, but I'm gonna put my own twist on it. Okay, now let me talk a little bit about myself. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, and then I'm going to open it up for any questions that anybody may have. Okay, so I started out coming from a small family, just have one sister, close-knit family, my mom and dad. I'm still blessed to have my mom and dad. Okay, I would not be who I am today without my parents. I left home at the early age of 17. I joined the U.S. Marine Corps. Real quick story. I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps where I used to work on F-4 Phantoms. This is an F-4 Phantom right here. Okay? I love this bird to this day because this is the first one I ever worked on. This is the same airplane, by the way. If you do any research, they say, according to the laws of physics, technically this plane should not be able to fly. But it just shows you if you put enough power on anything, you can make it fly. So this is the F-4 Phantom. This plane was the workhorse in Vietnam. Okay, so any Vietnam veterans, if your dads or uncles or anybody you may know that is a Vietnam vet, they will be very familiar with the F-4 Phantom. I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps. I got out of Marine Corps because I knew I wasn't a career Marine. I wanted to start my civilian career. I went to work for an airline called Piedmont Airlines. Okay, Piedmont Airlines. Okay, this is a little styrofoam airplane that Piedmont used to give out when you boarded the airplanes to kids. And to this day, this little styrofoam airplane right now is a collector's item. There are people right now who would pay at least $100 for this styrofoam airplane just because of the memorabilia and the affection and the fondness they had for and still have for Piedmont Airlines. I spent about 3 years working for Piedmont until we were acquired by U.S. Airways and then some subsequent mergers. I spent 17 years total in the airline. So I'm just going to show you a few of the airplanes I have that I wanted to present. One of the things I used to do when I left Piedmont and I left the airline industry, I worked for an aircraft maintenance company where we would maintain these airplanes. In other words, just like taking your car to the shop, airplane operators have to take their airplanes to the shop, and they have to have scheduled maintenance, periodic maintenance. So when this airplane would come in for maintenance, we would literally tear it apart. When I say tear it apart, I mean the vertical stabilizer would come off, horizontal, everything would come off, flight controls, and then we would take it up inside, interior cabin would come out, and we refurbish and do systems checks, all kind of periodic maintenance that Boeing, the manufacturer of this airplane, would recommend. Once it was all put back together, one of our customers was United Airlines. This particular airplane, the 767, okay? And I used to fly. Somebody doesn't have their microphone muted. Just everybody mute your microphones, okay? One of my jobs used to be this. The United Airlines would send in pilots, their test pilots, to test fly the airplane. And then my company that I worked for would send up some mechanics and technicians to go with the flight crew to put the airplane through all kind of tests. Now, when I tell you, we would put this airplane through all kind of tests that you would never experience as a flying passenger. And when I say max bank angle, I mean, we take off out of Greensboro and we bank the airplane and take the airplane up, put it in all kind of stalls. We shut the engines down, shut the APU down. I mean, stuff that you would hopefully never experience as a passenger on a revenue flight. Okay, and I loved every second of it. I sat right up here with the pilots. Okay, you had the captain, first officer, and I sat right in the middle in the jump seat. And we would put that plane max airspeed, max or overspeed warning, making the plane go as fast as it could. I mean, literally right on the verge of the wings shearing off. I mean, we're talking some serious systems checks. And I used to love doing that. And I'm going to leave you with this expression as well. When you love what you do, this is why it's so important to find out what your unique purpose in life is. Because when you love what you do, you will never work a day in your life. Now, that one's going to have to marinate for a minute before you really understand what that means. But some of you already know what that means. When you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I used to get paid to do this. The reality is I would have done it for free. Okay? So that's the 767. Okay? This airplane right here is one of my favorites. This is the Boeing 737 Next Gen with the winglets on it. This is an Alaska Airlines plane. Let's see. The meeting has been upgraded. Host. Okay. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I'm going to keep rolling. Yeah, this is the 737 Next Gen. Okay. Sweet airplane. Alaska Airlines has got the salmon on the side of it. Beautiful airplane. I used to work for them as well. All right. And then I'm going to take you all the way back to December of 1903, I believe it is. This is the Wright Flyer. This is where it all began. The Wright Flyer. The Wright brothers. Two brothers came out of Ohio. They were bicycle makers, and they were perfecting powered. They wanted to perfect powered flight. Now they were very good at gliders, okay, but what they needed was more wind to perfect their glider flights. So they were advised by a friend of theirs to come down to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, where we have sand dunes and a lot of wind that comes off the ocean. And they went down to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, and they perfected powered flight. So to this day, there's an argument between Ohio and North Carolina as to who is first in flight. North Carolina can claim to be the first in powered flight, okay, because they strapped an engine on it and was able to fly the Wright Flyer. I don't remember the exact distance the first flight was, but it was only a couple hundred feet. And this is where it all began, right here in 1902 or 1903, okay? So we're just over a century in powered flight, and look at what we've been able to do. We can put space shuttles and Hubble telescopes in the air. I mean, and it all started with the Wright Flyer. I do want to mention one more airplane because this one's sort of dear to me as well. This is the Honda Jet, okay, made right here in Greensboro, North Carolina. If you live in Greensboro, right here over at PTIA Airport. The distinguishable factor about this airplane is that the engines are mounted on the pylons are mounted actually on the wings. Okay, so that's one of the fastest planes, small private planes you can find, and it's very unique in that the engines are mounted on the wings. One more little tidbit about Honda Jet: one of their employees, who I personally know, left and started his own private jet company, and he's using the Honda Jet as his airplane. I think he's got about 2 or 3 airplanes right now, and he's right here in Greensboro. And by the way, he happens to be a brother. Now, most of y'all probably didn't even know that, but yeah, I'm not going to call his name of his company because I don't want to promote his company without maybe him not wanting me to. But yeah, he's right here in Greensboro, North Carolina, and he's doing some very, very, very good stuff. So, that's my story. I'm going to sort of turn it back over to Gerard and answer any questions that anybody may want to ask me about my story, my life, especially any advice on how to get involved in aviation if you're interested.
Hey Mike, tell the guys what started your interest in wanting to be a pilot, your aviation, all that. How'd you get into that? And tell them, what do you like most about it, and what do you like least about it?
I'm so glad you asked that question, Gerard, because that's a very important question, and that sort of is a good segue back to what you're doing. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and when I grew up, BWI Airport was called Friendship Airport. Okay, little small airport, and you could go out there on Sundays, and they had an observation platform that went out into almost to the middle of the airfield, and people could go out there and just put a quarter in these binoculars, these huge binoculars, and you could see the airplanes come in, taxiing, you could see planes landing, and I'll never forget, that's when the 747 came out. And my dad would take us out to the airport on Sundays. It would be like a cheap way of entertainment. It was cheap fun. It was free. So we would have dinner, and then we would ride out to the airport and just watch airplanes. And that's really what got me involved. I can distinctly remember when I knew this is what I wanted to do. My grandfather, Morris Watkins Kearney, had come to visit us. Him and my grandmother, Vivian, had come to visit us in Baltimore. And my dad said, okay, hey, we're going to take you guys out to the airport and watch airplanes. And I'll never forget, my grandfather had this distinguishing laugh. When he got tickled, he had this very distinguishable laugh. And I just remembered as a 10, 12-year-old kid, looking at how much airplanes had tickled my grandfather, how much it had just made him excited. I said, if I want to do something with airplanes, if that can make my grandfather feel like that, I want to do something in the aviation field. So when it came time for me to choose a career field, I actually wanted to be an architect, by the way. But when I went to join and enlist in the Marine Corps, the recruiter told me that if I wanted to go into that pathway, and this just shows you how life can change and your trajectory in life can change. Because he told me, he says, Michael, he said, if you want to go into architecture, you're going to have to leave home like the day after you graduate from high school to go to school in order to be graduated from boot camp and be in position to go through architecture school. And I was like, man, I don't want to leave the day after I get out of high school. I want to play for the summer. And I really did. He said, is there anything else you like? I said, well, I like electronics and I like airplanes. He said, well, you'd be a great candidate for a field called avionics. And that's called aviation electronics. So I originally started out as a technician, an avionics technician, working on the instrumentation, all the instrumentation in the airplane, the computers, the flight computers, the autopilot, all of the computers that the pilot uses to fly the airplane that he doesn't even know he's using, by the way, because these are the black boxes, by the way, that are under the floorboard. Okay, so all the pilot knows is he's looking at instrumentation, the results of what these boxes are feeding him to fly the airplane. I'm the guy that worked on the systems that the pilot used to fly the airplane. Well, when I got out of the Marine Corps, my uncle, Edward Kearney, who was a licensed pilot, he was on me so much about getting my pilot's license. And I said, well, I'm not really interested in getting my pilot's license because I was working on smaller airplanes. I don't have a private airplane here. Yeah, I was working on little smaller airplanes, something like these, they were little private airplanes, okay? Maybe not those bi-wings, but I was working on private airplanes, okay? And we had all kind of customers at Baltimore Avionics Company at BWI Airport that would fly in to get their airplanes worked on. And then once they got their airplanes worked on, my boss, Tom Turnbull, I love him to this day, okay? He's like my brother. Tom Turnbull would say, hey, Mikey, they used to call me Mikey. Hey, Mikey, come and go with me and we'll test fly this airplane. Now, we would work on the airplane, put all kind of changes into them, upgrade the systems in the airplane, and then to show our confidence in the work that we had just done, we'd go test fly the airplane. So me and Tom, or Tom and I, we would take the airplane up. Tom was a licensed pilot. And Tom was one of the ones who would also say, Mikey, you need to get your ticket. You need to get your ticket, Mikey. I was like, man, I'm not interested in that. I like working on the airplane, right? So my Uncle Edward, I'll never forget, we used to fly a Rockwell Commander. And man, I used to love going flying with my Uncle Edward. And he would always say, Mikey, get your ticket. So during my second marriage, when I got remarried, I was married to my first wife. I got divorced, and I married my second wife, which I'm still married to, and it's my last marriage, by the way. My wife, Myra, I had set up a flight simulator at home, and I would spend hours on my flight simulator. And then finally, my wife came to me one day, and she says, you know what? She says, you know everything about airplanes. I gotta keep it together here because this is real touching to me. She said, Mike, she says, you know everything about airplanes. She said, you can work on them, you can fix them, you know them inside out, you can work on them in your sleep. And I've watched you spend hours on that flight simulator. She said, you need to get your pilot's license. And to show you how much of support a good woman can be, my wife purchased my first 10 hours of flight lessons that year for Christmas. And she bought me my first 10 hours of flight lessons. So I will always give her credit. I always had the admonishment of my uncle and Tom, and all of the other guys that would try to convince me to get my license. But it was my wife, my second wife, Myra Kearney, who said, no, I'm going to kick you out of here. And I'm tired of watching you play on that flight simulator. You might as well just go get your license and know how to fly a real airplane. I already knew how to fly airplanes. It was just a matter of getting the license to make it official. So, yeah, my wife was the first one, or I guess what I would say the last one that pushed me over to convince me to get my pilot's license. And I got to tell you, if you're interested in getting your pilot's license, it's one of the accomplishments that you can do in your life that'll be a highlight in your life. Once you get your license, you'll always have it. Once you earn the title, I earned the title as a U.S. Marine. I'm proud of that title. I wear the title of dad, husband, brother, son. But pilot is one of the most. I'm so proud to have earned and wear the title of pilot, because we're very few. We're less than 1% of the population are pilots. And then there's even a smaller fraction of that are black pilots. So that's why even the black pilots there's like a brotherhood of black pilots. One of my best friends is a pilot, owns his own airplane. I'll tell you about him real quick. Gary Slaughter out of Charlotte. This brother is a doctor. So see, you might not want to fly airplanes for a living, but just to have your pilot's license is one of the coolest things you can have, because this guy's a dermatologist. He has a practice in Charlotte and he has a practice in Myrtle Beach. And in order to be able to maintain both practices, he flies his own airplane. He has a Beach Bonanza, very nice airplane, back and forth between Charlotte and Myrtle Beach. Charlotte and Myrtle Beach. He flies himself. He has like 8,000 hours. Okay, went to Tuskegee University. He's painted his airplane the Tuskegee Airman paint theme. So, he's a doctor, but he's also a pilot. So, again, it's one of those things, once you earn that title, it's one of the most rewarding things you could ever do in your life. And I'm here to help anybody that would want to do it. Anyone that would want to do it, I'm here to help you. Any questions?
Anybody want to tap in and ask any other questions before I ask another one? Anybody?
I will cover how to go about getting your license. So if anybody's interested in that, I'll cover all of that. Yeah.
Hey, Mike, tell the guys about some of the cool places that you've you've flown before and the journey and all that kind
Man.
of.
That's a great question, Gerard. Man, I got to tell you, some of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen, I've seen from an airplane. I mean, when I talk about flying down to the coast and flying into the sunset or flying into the sunrise as the sun is coming up. I mean, it's an experience that you can't replicate anywhere else except from an airplane. You know, they say if you give me a half a mile, I can show you things in life that you never even knew existed. Okay? So just some of the places I've flown, I mean, obviously down to the beach, to the coast, to the mountains. I've flown down, I've been flying all my life, really, whether it be commercial or private. Down into the Bahamas. Can you imagine flying down into the Bahamas over the Exuma chain, and you're flying over islands and you're looking at private islands that people own? Tyler Perry owns a private island in the Caribbean. You can fly over his island and see his island. So many people, celebrities, own private islands down in the Bahamas, the Exuma chain. But just all kind of places. One of my favorite things to do is to fly over to, it's real close here. It's over in Durham, North Carolina. Just above Durham is a place called Roxborough, North Carolina. There's a small airport called Person County Airport. It's so beautiful for me to get an airplane on a Sunday afternoon. My wife and I have done it a million times. We fly over to Person County, land the airplane. You call a local restaurant. I'm not going to put their name up, but you call a local restaurant. They send a car over to the airport to pick you up, take you back to the restaurant. You sit down and have dinner, some of the best food you can ever have, okay? Once you're done, you pay for your meal. Mr. Kearney, would you like to go back to the airport now? Sure. And when you earn so much respect when you walk in as a pilot, because it's like, well, where'd you all fly in from? Well, we flew in from Greensboro. Okay, well, great, nice to have you. Here's your table right here. Let us know if there's anything we can do for you. Thank you very much. Mr. Kearney, thank you for coming over to see us. Is there anything are you ready to go back to the airport? They take you back over to the airport. You get in your airplane and you fly back home. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. This stuff only seems like it happens in the movies. I'll give you another one. Me and my buddy Gary, one day he called me. He said, hey man, I got some tickets to the Navy Tulane game up in Annapolis. I had never been to the Naval Academy. He said, do you want to go up there? I said, man, are you kidding? Of course. Okay. And I'm going to plug my phone, my computer in. I think my back. Okay, there we go. I said, of course. Are you kidding me? It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon. So Gary flew up from Charlotte. He's in a Piper Navajo, seats 6 people in the back, 2 in the front. I said, hey man, can I call some other people and ask them to come? I called a few other guys. Joseph Weaver, I called him. I called one of my mentees, Micah Gary. Okay, I said, hey, we're going up to Annapolis if you want to come. And then Micah's only 12 years old. At the time, he's like 12 or 13 years old. I'm mentoring him to get his pilot's license, okay? So we fly up to Annapolis, go to the game. Everything is VIP treatment because the tickets Gary had was from one of his patients who was a retired admiral or something. And this guy had like VIP everything. So we get up there, VIP parking. We go up into this suite, as long as the football field almost, at the 50-yard line. All the food you can want, all the drinks you want, anything you want, okay, is up there in this suite. We leave to come back home. We flying out of a small airport out of Annapolis, Maryland, and it was dark by now. And I just remember looking over to Gary, and I looked over at Micah, and I said to Gary, Gary, you know what? I said, man, we are so blessed. I said, because just imagine if somebody had exposed us to this kind of experience when we were coming up. Man, we probably would have been space shuttle drivers by now, okay? But here we are, we're so blessed to be able to expose a kid like Micah to this. And here's Micah, 12, 13-year-old kid, flying private in a Piper Navajo to Annapolis, Maryland, to the U.S. Naval Academy, U.S. midshipmen and everything. I mean, it's like, it was a just beautiful day and one of the most memorable experiences I've ever had. It's almost like surreal. You can't even believe this is happening to you. And here's Micah as a 12, 13-year-old kid being exposed to something like this. Can you imagine what that's going to do for him? and how he's going to grow up and say, hey, you know what? When I was coming up, there were these men, Mr. Kearney, Mr. Slaughter, and they would take us to air shows, and they would take us to the Smithsonian Institute, and they would take us down to Charlotte to the Air and Space Museum down there. They just exposed us to aviation, and I promise you when I say Micah Gary will be an airline pilot one day.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Right there, two cool examples of locations.
Yes.
I was just going to say, how long have you been a pilot, Mike?
So that's a good question. I actually learned how to fly when I got out of the Marine Corps and I started working for Baltimore Avionics Company. Because again, this was a small company. It was only 3 of us. And by the way, we were all former Marines. It was Tom Turnbull, Dave Shelton, and me, Mike Kearney. All right. So I walk in, I'm the youngest, straight out of the Marine Corps. And, I walked in and I said, hey, I'd like to apply for a job. Tom Turnbull was working at a bench. I was always a bench technician. He turned around, he says, what kind of experience do you have? I had told him I just got out of the Marine Corps. The airplanes that I worked on, the F-4 Phantom and the A-4 Skyhawk, and the systems I had worked on, the AN/APX-76 IFF Interrogator, okay, the KY-532 Bravo transponder. I still remember these things, right? So then I said I worked on the APX-72 transponder. So he said, okay. So he stood up, walked out, and we walked out into the hangar. He says, come and follow me. Out in the hangar was a Air National Guard, a Maryland Air National Guard helicopter. He opened up a panel. He pointed to something. He said, what's that right there? I said, and I had just told him what I worked on, which, by the way, this is a lesson, and why not to ever try to BS anybody, because they will call you on it. You never know what somebody else knows. He said, what's that right there? I said, that's the AN/APX-72 transponder. He said, what's that right there? I said, that's the TS-1843 inline test set for it. He said, when can you start? That was my interview. I said, how about now? He said, now go back home. He said, you can come back tomorrow. I was like, I was ready to go. I said, how about right now? He said, no, come back tomorrow. And I worked for Baltimore Avionics for 3 years. And that's why I really cut my teeth on learning airplane systems. And I was able to go from there to get a job with the airline. But to answer your question, it was there at Baltimore Avionics Company. Again, Tom would take me flying with him. And then here's another cool thing. When you have people that own their own airplanes and they bring their airplanes to you to get fixed, it's just like when if you have a Mercedes or you have a Range Rover and you know a really good Range Rover mechanic. You're going to love him and keep him, okay? Trust me when I say I have a Range Rover. I'm trying to find a Range Rover mechanic right now, okay? But anyway, because these guys had their own airplanes, we were right there in Baltimore, Washington Airport. I got to meet some of the most interesting people. I mean, people that came out of D.C., from Virginia, okay, from Delaware. And there was this couple of two people I distinctly remember. One was a brother who worked at the Pentagon. His name was John Long, okay? And he had a Piper Cherokee, okay? And another brother was a guy, I can't remember his name, but he was a little scrawny guy. And he was a bails bondsman, and he always had 2 big dudes with him. And he flew a Piper Navajo, and he would use his airplane to go and retrieve people that had skipped bail, okay? So one day, John Long said, hey man, what you doing tomorrow? This was on a Friday. He says, what are you doing tomorrow? I said, nothing. Because I was single, still young. I was 23, 24 years old. I was 24, 25. And he says, what are you doing tomorrow? I said, nothing. He said, hey, I want you to go with me to a cookout. I said, okay. He says, meet me here at the shop in the morning. I said, all right. Come back out to the airport Saturday morning. Beautiful day. We get in the airplane. We fly to upstate New York. When we land in upstate New York, somebody had sent a car over to pick us up. We get in this car and we drive over to this mansion in upstate New York. And it turns out, I'll never forget this. It was a black woman who was widowed, but apparently her husband had done really well, and she was loaded. I mean, she was loaded. She had this mansion, and her backyard went down to a lake. I kid you not, man. It was like a dream, okay? And there was all of this food and ping pong tables, and I mean, people throwing footballs and frisbee, and just having a great time at this lady's house. And We sat there, I mean, ate all you could eat, all that. And then it was time to go. Me and John Long, we got back in the airplane, heading back to Baltimore, right? And I remember coming back into Baltimore. John let me fly back most of the way, okay? And I remember coming back into Baltimore and the city lights. You could see the city lights, and it was so beautiful. And I said, oh my God, I am so blessed. But to answer that question, I've been flying, quote unquote, flying since I was 24 years old. I'm 56 now, so that's over 30 years. But I got my license about 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, to make it official. So I've got hundreds of hours flying behind a control wheel, but about 400 or 500 hours in my logbook.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that.
And again, that just goes to show you the power of when people gravitate towards you, being a nice person, where people would invite you to things like that. You want to be that kind of person, because I could have been the kind of person where, even though those guys were bringing their airplanes in, they'd have been like, man, I don't like him because he's whatever, and they wouldn't have invited me to anything. 'Cause I can't tell you how many times I got invited to different things from the customers that we would service at Baltimore Avionics Company. And to this day, I give so much props and so much respect to Tom Turnbull, Dave Shelton, Marty. I can't remember Marty's last name. Marty was a guy that didn't work for us, but he worked around us. He was an autopilot guy, and he used to fly in Navajo. He would fly a doctor out of Baltimore, from Baltimore to Nantucket every week. This doctor had an airplane, and Marty flew it for him, and he was flying back and forth to Nantucket. And Marty was just retired Air Force guy, I think. And I learned so much from these guys. So when I went to the airline, they was like, man, how'd you learn all this stuff? I was like, man, I came out of Baltimore Avionics, Marines, Baltimore Avionics. And then when I went to the airline, I hit the ground running. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Kenry, I have a question.
Okay.
What is the largest plane you've ever worked on?
Okay, so the largest plane I've ever worked on would be the 777, Boeing 777. It's one of the largest planes that Boeing makes. It's right up there with the Boeing 747. So I've worked on them all. Look, I'm a Boeing guy, by the way. I've worked on Airbus as well, but I've worked on Boeing 777, 47s, 37, 57s. Here's a 57. That's a Boeing 757. You can tell it because it's a longer airplane and a little skinnier. Okay. Again, the Boeing 67 is a pretty large airplane. ETOPS rated. But 747, 737, 727s, F-28s. I've worked on them all. I've cut my teeth. And see, that goes back to this. When you find out what your passion is in life, I'm gonna give this to you as well. And I got all day, so I'll spend as much time as you guys want. But when you find out what you want to do in life, and you discover your passion, now there's a difference between passion and unique purpose. So don't get those confused, because you can have talent and abilities to do things. You can play basketball, that's a talent. You can throw football, that's a talent. Then you have a passion for certain things. You might have a passion for cars, passion for airplanes. But then your unique ability might be something totally different. My unique ability is what I'm doing right now, actually. Okay? But I do have a passion for airplanes. Now, when you have a passion for something, listen to me carefully. There should be evidence, what I call trace evidence of your passion all around you. If I come to your house, I should be able to go in your room and see certain things, and I'll say, oh, you must like cars, or you must like airplanes. If you're passionate about airplanes, you're going to leave trace evidence. There's no question in anyone's mind when they come to my house and they walk in my office what I'm passionate about, aviation. Okay, so to answer that question again, the largest plane I've ever worked on is the Boeing 777. I haven't had the pleasure of working on the 787, but it's not as big as the 777 anyway. So as far as size-wise, the 777, beautiful airplane. I'm talking about, oh my goodness. Look it up, Boeing 777, and just Google it, and you'll see all kind of pictures, YouTube videos of them. Just a beautiful airplane. Again, my job was to work on all the flight deck instrumentation, all the computers, okay, that the pilot used to fly the airplane.
That's awesome, Mike. Appreciate that
Thank you.
information.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Mike?
How about if I do this, Gerard? How about if I tell them if they're interested in going into aviation while they're still thinking about their questions? Because I'll answer questions all day if we have to. But if they're interested in going into
They
aviation.
end about 1:30 or so, but we just want to go for about 15 more minutes.
Okay, good. So I want to get this out real quick. So I want to get out, if you are interested in learning how to either fly this airplane or just work on the airplane. See, when I first started out, I just wanted to work on the airplane. I didn't want to fly it. So I'm the guy on the ground. I kept the birds flying. And I took great pride in that. Every time I see a plane flying, I'll be like, that's one of my birds. That's one of my birds. I'm making that plane fly. The pilot's flying the airplane, but if it had not been for me and guys like me on the ground, that plane wouldn't fly. And it's a certain pride you have when you launch an airplane, whether you're working for the airline, it comes out of maintenance, or it's a remain overnight, what we call stay overnight at a station, and then you launch it first thing in the morning. But when you see that plane take off, you used to sit back and watch the plane take off. And I tell you what, one of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen in my life was a Phantom taking off out of Yuma, Arizona. And that bird came across the sky with full afterburners, fire coming out the back. He's like, that's what I do right there. That's me right there. So you have a certain pride in what you do. But if you're just interested in working on the airplane or you want to fly the airplane, if you're in North Carolina, you are in one of the best places you can be to learn aviation. Because there are schools right now that have aviation programs. High Point Andrews has an aviation program that to the best of my knowledge. In other words, the last I knew, they had a program. I don't know if they discontinued it or not, but High Point Andrews has an aviation program where you can start learning about aviation in high school. Okay, you can come out of high school, you can go to Guilford Tech Community College. They have a great program over there for mechanics or sheet metal mechanics, or if you want to get into their pilot program, you can get your private pilot's license going through Guilford Tech Community College. If you want to work on the airplanes, you want to work for a company that manufactures the airplanes, again, HondaJet is right here in Greensboro, North Carolina. They make the airplanes right here. This is their world headquarters for making this airplane right here. So you can go to high school, go to Guilford Tech, get a 2-year associate's degree, and then go to work for HondaJet making this airplane. That's if you want to work on the airplanes. And that'll give you a start in the career field. If you want to, again, become a pilot, you can get a start with Guilford Tech Community College right here in Greensboro, okay, right over here at the airport. Okay, you can get your private pilot's license. If you want to further that and become a private pilot, as far as a commercial pilot or air transport pilot, flying for the airline, you can start going to a university like Embry-Riddle University. And I do believe that East Carolina University has an aviation program. Hampton University in Virginia, where my daughter went, she's an alum of Hampton. They have an aviation program. So there's so many ways that you can get into aviation. And the key thing is you have to have a passion for it, because it's not easy. And when I tell you, every step of the way, as far as getting my pilot's license, there was probably, I can't even count the number of times I wanted to quit. I can't count the number of times that I wanted to quit. And that's why I'm so adamant about helping others to get started and helping them along the way. Because I tell folks when they say, hey Mike, I want you to help me get my pilot's license. And I'll say, okay, but here's the thing. I'm going to be one of the guys that you're going to call at 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning crying because you want to give up and you need somebody to keep pushing you. Because believe me when I say, there were times that I had cried myself to sleep because I wanted to give up and I wanted to quit, but I didn't. It will happen. And that goes back to stick-to-itness and perseverance, hard work and perseverance. Nothing in life worth having is going to come easy. Understand that nothing in life that's worth having is going to come easy. So if you really, really, really want to be a pilot, you got to make that decision that you want to do it, and you're going to do it no matter what. And you're going to lean on people like Mr. Kearney and Mr. Slaughter and Mr. Truesdale. There'll be times you be calling him, I just don't know if I can do it. And he'll talk you out of it. He says, no, keep going, keep going, keep going. You're going to do it. You're going to get there. You're going to get there. And I promise you, it will happen. And you can get there. You can do it. You can get there from here. You can get there. So if you want to become a pilot, if you want to become a mechanic, if you want to work anything in aviation, you want to just work at the airport, you want to be an airline executive, you want to get your business degree, and then you want to go to work for the airline and one day run your own airline, I can help you get started and point you in the right direction. And then I'm one of the guys that you're gonna be calling saying, Mr. Kearney, yeah, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. I think I just want to give it up and go do something else. I'll be the one to say, okay, if that's what you want to do, but before you do that, let me let you think about this and think about this and think about this. And I promise you, when you get that license, it's one of the most rewarding experiences in your life. And no one can ever take it away from you. Now, you can lose it on your own, okay? You can do something stupid, and the FAA can say, give me that license back, or at least suspend it. But once you earn it, they'll never be able to take it away from you. And they'll never be able to take away the title of pilot. Never. Never.
All right, guys. Any other questions before we end for the day? Thanks for tuning in. Nope. All right, fellas. Well,
any questions?
Appreciate everything, Mike. Thanks a lot for joining our call today, and appreciate it.
My pleasure, Gerard. I appreciate you guys, the work you're doing. I can't say as humble as I know how, man. Thank you for the opportunity to be the first. I love being the first, So, like I said, I was in the shower getting ready for it. I say, okay, Mike, you got to set the bar. You got to set the bar for the Zoom presentation. So the next person that come behind you, I got to keep raising the bar because Mike has set the bar now.
Set the bar high, man. Set the bar high, and we'll reach out if they have any questions and have you come into our camp this summer to talk to them in person.
Hey, no question, man. No question. I can't wait.
And last, any of you guys want to ask a question? Any of the kids listening in, fellas? I know y'all been listening. Anybody?
Any questions? There's no such thing as a dumb question. Any question you got?
I mean, I don't got a question. I just like your story and like your questions like at the beginning. But you was like, you got to find out who you are, that other stuff. So it really like spoke to me. But yeah.
Great. And see, that's where it all starts, guys. You got to be clear on who you are first of all, because so often, I know we got about 7 minutes left. I want to do this real quick. So often, especially as younger adults and young men, which I consider you are, I don't consider any of you all kids, okay? You guys are young men, okay? When you're a young man, you're trying to find your identity. You're trying to understand who you are and how you fit into society and how you fit in your community. And sometimes we get distracted and we get dissuaded by what we see. We see other things, say, well, maybe I can be like this guy over here who's a basketball player, or maybe I can be a rapper. How many times you see people that want to be a rapper? Not that there's anything wrong with being a rapper, okay? Because if that's what you want to be, okay, that's fine. But how many times do you see somebody that wants to be a rapper just because they see rappers and they like rappers, but they haven't really discovered who they are? So they go down this road of wanting to be a rapper, not really wanting to be a rapper or an athlete or whatever the case might be. And none of those things are wrong if that's what you want to do. But the thing is for you to determine and discover what that thing is. And the only way you can do it is to ask yourself the questions. You can't go to mama and daddy and cousin and say, hey, what do you think I should be? Mom, what do you think I should be in life? Dad, who do you think and what do you think I should be in life? You got to ask yourself the question, who am I? Who am I really? Xavier, who am I? Why did God put me here? Ask God. He'll answer you. He'll answer you. God, why did you put me here? What's my purpose? Okay? And he will answer you. And then once you get that answer and you clearly know who you are, okay? Then your job is to do what? Relentlessly pursue it as if your life depended on it. I'll give you a quick story. When I was growing up, the movie The Greatest came out. Muhammad Ali. And ask anybody who we grew up with in Baltimore, when I saw that movie, it had such a profound impression on me that I wanted to be Muhammad Ali. And I would come out and go jogging every day, and I wanted to be a boxer. Just because I had saw the movie The Greatest. That showed you how strong of an impression things can have on you. But and the reality was that I didn't want to be a boxer. I just saw Muhammad Ali and how much he became a great boxer. He became the greatest at what he did. Okay, and that inspired me so much that I wanted to become him. I hadn't gotten to the point where I had discovered my own unique ability. So yeah, write these things down, guys. It's so important. A lot of people think that that writing stuff down it doesn't matter if I write it down or not. It does. You have to write it down because what you'll do is you'll go back and read it, and then you'll expound on it, and you'll say, okay, this is who I am. This is what my talent, what my strengths and abilities are. Okay, and then just take it from there.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everybody who
Anytime.
tuned in. I see you, Hank. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming in. And we'll continue on, fellas, in the future. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Mike. We
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, Facebook fam, I'm not sure who else hung out with me that length of time. I see a few folks out there. Risa, Sahara Wellington, I see you. Damn it, your dad, I talk to your dad all the time. Yes, Walter, I'm away with these folks. Let's see who we got here. Who joined? Marion Franks, I see you. Not sure if you guys are still watching or not. Shamika, Kimberly Freeman, thank you. Tom, I see you. Alfred as well. I see all y'all who have joined at some point during the video. I hope you guys got something out of that. It was my pleasure to be the first host for the Crossroads Pathways to Success Zoom workshop. Very first one they've done using Zoom. Normally it's a face-to-face presentation. I really can't wait until I get a chance to go talk to those guys in person because it's nothing like that personal interaction where I can get up and walk around and all of that. So again, I appreciate you guys that have been here for me and have supported me along my journey, especially here as of late. I just really can't thank you enough. And then based on that, I'm gonna let you go. It's Saturday afternoon. I still got to go cut my grass this afternoon and just hang out in Peace Haven. We're practicing this. Stay in place, thing, and really minimizing how we go out and where we go. So I'm just gonna spend the rest of the day with me and my babe, Myra Boo, and sit back. So you guys be careful, be safe. If you're getting out and about, wear your mask. Stop wearing some mask, okay? Wear your mask. There's this whole debate over whether you should wear a mask or not. Just wear the mask. It can't hurt, okay? And the masks are really more for people who may have been exposed to the virus and don't know it, and to prevent them from spreading it to other people. So this is a way we can do our part to curtail this whole coronavirus thing. It's going to be over one day, y'all. Hopefully we'll all make it through and make it through this, and we'll be able to look back on it and know that this was something that God had put us through for a reason, not just to be, for nothing else to do. It's not like God said, well, I got nothing else to do, let me throw a plague on them. No, this is for a reason, y'all. And while we are all sequestered in place, I would encourage you to really explore, why do you think we're all going through this? What does it all mean? What does it mean for me in my life? Okay? And then how am I, if I do make it out of it, how am I going to spend the rest of my life? What am I going to do with the rest of my life? Okay? Because this is not for no reason. This is for a reason. This is definitely for a reason. Now, I'm not going to get off on that too much because I'm actually a little tired after giving all that. But, y'all think about that and think about how you're going to look at this. Should you make it out of it? How you going to look back, hindsight? What was the lesson learned? And how you're going to move forward, okay? Because again, God is not doing this just for no reason. He's really doing this, my opinion, my belief, is that he's doing this to get all of our attention and bring us back to some basic things we've gotten away from. Basic things like just calling each other on the phone. I've called more people on the phone in the last 2-3 weeks than I had the last 3 years, okay? And these are family members, close family members. Me and my daughter have talked on the phone more in the last 3 weeks than we talked in the last 6 months, okay? Not for any reason, just that we're not, when I was in the Marine Corps, I very seldom call home. My daughter takes after me. When I do hear from her, she'll send me a text. We text each other all the time. But to FaceTime like we've been doing lately, we hadn't been doing that. And this has brought us back to doing that. Okay? Praying with your family. How many people are praying more now? Okay? How many people are just doing all kind of things that we should have been doing all along? And it took God to get our attention to bring us back to these things. Okay? Appreciating life in itself. Just appreciating life. Just appreciating getting up and having another day. Knowing how fast it can be taken away. Bus driver up in Detroit. Driving his bus. Lady gets on coughing all over the place. He was dead in 4 days. That's how fast his life changed. His family's lives changed. And there's countless stories out there like that. So hopefully yours won't be one of them. And hopefully you will get something out of this whole experience that should we survive it, you'll be able to go forward with a new meaning in life, a new purpose in life. Okay? So that's all I'm going to say about that. Again, I appreciate everybody. I love you all. And y'all stay safe and be blessed. All right? Bye.